This is Steve Cropper. You're listening to T-Bone's Prime Cuts.
Now I'm going to go back to the Blues Brothers a little bit. If you could talk just a little bit about how that band was assembled.
All right, well, I'll tell as much story as I can.
Sure.
Duck called me, Duck Dunn. He said, "Do you have anything for me to do in the next day or so?" And I said, "No, not that I know of." And I was doing something else. So anyway, he said, well, Levon Helm was a good friend of his. He used to see Levon a lot. And when they came through Memphis, the band came through Memphis or whatever, Levon would go out to Duck's house. And I think he actually stayed there one time. But anyway, he said, Levon has asked me to come up to Woodstock and play on an album. I said, well, fine. Have fun, man. It'd be great. So he gets up there. He calls me about 2-3 days later. He said, Levon wants to know what you're doing. I said, well, nothing. I'm mixing, but I can stop it. He said, well, get up here as soon as you can. We're going to cut an album. So we went up and did an album with Levon Helm. We wound up doing a couple albums and pretty successful. So Levon books us this gig at the Palladium for New Year's Eve, and we all agreed to do it. The connection between that and the Blues Brothers, we had the Saturday Night Live horns in that band. That is the connection. Belushi was there that night at the Palladium, New Year's Eve. And he said, I was told that he said to somebody, he said, if I ever put a band together, I want that band. So he heard us play live and he said, I want that band. And so when he put together this, when Steve Martin asked him to put something together to open at the Universal Amphitheater, and they were on hiatus anyway that summer. So Belushi told Steve Martin, he said, well, you know, Danny and I don't do stand-up comedy. And he said, I know that, but he said, do whatever you want to do. I just want you opening for me. And so they've asked me to come up with something. And so I want you guys to open for me. And so Belushi says, well, can we play music? And Steve Martin said, man, if you want to play music, play music. So that's when John got the idea. I put a band together. So he goes to Tom Malone, who was director of the Saturday Night Live band at that time, and said to him, you know, I've got these gigs we got open for Steve Martin for 9 shows at the Universal Amphitheater out in LA. Should we take the whole Saturday Night Live band? And Tom Malone told him at the time, and this is what Tom told me. He said, I told Belushi, you need to get Dunn and Cropper because they're old road dogs. We had done 2 world tours with them.
Oh yeah.
And we did. We knew the road a little bit, and I don't know where Tom got the idea. We knew more than we knew, but he did. He said it. So that was his suggestion. So Belushi called me, and I was mixing. I was doing a Robben Ford at the time, and I had I was working on a third to the last one, and I had a couple more to mix. And so the girls on the switchboard had the instructions that if I'm mixing, I do not get disturbed. And so I said, unless it's Alan Ryder, who was a friend of mine at the time at the publishing company, and we used to go to lunch all the time. And he would call me and say, you know, this is Alan. I need to talk to Steve. Okay, Alan. And he'd always say he was Stevie Wonder or the president or somebody like that. I always make up some fictitious name, and I knew that's who it was. So the first time Belushi, he said, this is John Belushi, and I hung up on him. So that happened a couple of times. And then the second time he's explaining, the third time he said, Cropper, don't hang up. This is really John Belushi. I said, what? And he says to me, he says, I understand you and Donald Duck Dunn don't get along very well. That was his introduction to me. And he knew better. He knew we'd been friends since the 6th grade, so since little kids. And he wanted me to come to New York to rehearse for these shows. I said, John, I can't do it. I'm in the middle of mixing. And so I hung up the third time. And so Robben Ford was in the couch down below the console. And he stands up and he says, who are you talking to? I said, John Belushi. He wants me to come to New York and rehearse for the band. But I can't do it. I'm mixing your album. He said, I'll do it. I said, no, you won't. So I called John back and I said, if you could wait a couple of days, I'll get up there. And he did. And I had already talked to the engineer before I called John back and said, can you mix these and just play them to me over the phone or something? And so I can agree to the mixes or send me copies or whatever. He said, sure. So we did. That's the way we did it.
Just going back to the Blues Brothers a little bit, did you have as much fun as it during the film is
It
it seemed
appeared to
like.
be, well, anytime it appears to be fun, you're usually working your butt off. So
Right.
I think we had more fun doing the movie than we did doing the album, but it was a lot of fun because Duck and I were just playing the same stuff we played in high school. I mean, no, why? We just played the same old stuff we'd always played. So it was easy for us. It sounds like we're really playing hard, but if we're not, I mean, it's an easy gig. And Lou Marini tells a story about Jack Nicholson was sitting in the front row and he lowers his sunglasses and goes, put them back up. So Louis tells that story. That's what he remembers. I don't remember him doing that. I remember him being out there. I didn't see that particular moment. He was over by the horn side. So anyway.
Now, what a lot of people don't know is, like you were saying, that was a band well before the movie. And matter of fact, you even put out an album or whatever.
Full of Blues, yeah.
Yeah, and it sold like 4 million copies.
Yeah. Well, at the time it sold 3, and then to date it's over 4. But
Yeah.
I think the sale of it, Atlantic was allowed. That allowed Atlantic to put a little more pressure on Universal to do a movie. And so when Danny went in with the script and the whole thing, they'd already seen the script and turned it down. They said, "We're not going to make this movie." So they called him back, said, "Okay." So they said, "Well, we're going to have to teach actors how to play instruments." And Danny said, "No, we're going to use the whole band." They said, "No, you can't do that in Hollywood." And Danny said, "Then you don't get a movie." And he told me later, Danny said, "I fought for you guys so hard." He said, "I bit my lip when they told me I couldn't do it." He said, "Blood can't strip it out." So, okay, I'll take his word for that one. But he had already acted out the movie to me, and he called me. He was renting a house down on Wrightwood, which was three minutes from my house. He said, "How soon can you get down here?" So as soon as I can get to the car and get down there, so come on down. I got something to show you. So I get down there and I go in the living room, and he grabs me and sits me in the couch and grabs a footstool, an ottoman, and stands in the middle of the room and read me and acted out that whole script. Wow. And I was belly aching, just going nuts. And I knew it was funny. And that after that is when he got the idea to rip the yellow pages off of the LA phone book.
Oh yeah.
He wrapped the yellow pages around the script and threw it over the back fence. I think he threw it over the fence to Bob Weiss. He wanted Bob to produce it. He did. So that is all a true story. That actually happened that way.